I get some folks coming up to me, talking to me about, NFL this, NFL that, and I'm thrilled to talk to people because, I'm a man of the people. And invariably, I'll get, who's going to be the quarterback? What do you think of the coach? Does my team have a chance this year? One of the camps that my kids goes to in Maine is a ton of Baltimore folks go to it. So when I just went to visiting day, is Lamar really going to do something good? I mean, is he worth? I mean, you get all of these questions. But there's one franchise of any fan base that I've come across that says to me, are we going to get a new owner in my lifetime? It's the Washington fan base. That's it. It's never been, what's with the coach or what's with the quarterback. I mean, for a split minute, it was RG3 and then Kirk Cousins and what's going on there. But invariably, always, are we going to get a new owner? And today, on this day, July 20th, 2023, it does appear there will be a unanimous answer from the membership in the National Football League voting on the sale of Washington Commanders / football team / Redskins. The answer apparently is going to come back, yes, you will get a new owner. And Dan Snyder, there is a door that will hit him on the posterior on the way out. Now he will walk out with $6 billion.
Yeah, he won the Powerball a lot.
Right. So today is finally, it does appear to be the day that the house twirling around from Kansas lands in the football land of Oz, and underneath it will be the wicked warlock of the Mid-Atlantic. So we say ding dong to one of our favorites here on the program who's been covering the story of Dan Snyder and the National Football League and his relation to the National Football League and his relations with fellow members of the National Football League and the fan base. This guy knows all about it. Senior writer from ESPN, Don Van Natta, back here in the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Don?
Doing great, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. What's going on?
Well,
Is it happening?
NFL's long national nightmare is finally over.
It is, right? It's coming?
That's it. This is great news for all of the owners. All the other 31 owners are thrilled to be finally rid of Dan Snyder. He has no friends left. His last friend among the membership was Jerry Jones, who protected him for a long time. I think even as recently as last year. But the NFL membership is thrilled. I think you're right. It will be a unanimous vote later today in Minneapolis, and the Snyder era is finally over.
And the reason for that is why? I mean, why now? Why would Dan Snyder, after all this time and saying, I'm not going to do this, I am not changing the franchise team's name, I am not selling, I have no interest in selling, I am here, get used to it, I'm going to buy up radio stations and everything else so I can squelch dissent and do things that no other member, it seems, in the National Football League would ever think of doing. Why now, Don?
Two reasons. One is he has led a toxic workplace, has embarrassed his fellow owners. There are sexual misconduct allegations still ongoing that are being investigated by Mary Jo White. He just caused a lot of heartburn to the members. We reported, Rich, just last week at ESPN.com that he was actually free and clear last October, and yet he was one of the people responsible for those Jon Gruden email leaks, which woke up Congress. There was a congressional investigation launched just a week after those leaks, and that led to even more allegations. There's a federal criminal investigation about financial improprieties going on in Virginia, as we've reported on. So that's one reason. The other reason, though, and it's a big reason when it comes to the way the NFL owners view him, is he has been costing them money. That is a big no-no among the membership.
How so?
His team has been last in attendance in the NFL the last couple of years. The FedEx Field is ranked the worst stadium in the league. It's crumbling. Snyder can't get a new stadium. He ran out of options to try to build back this once storied franchise. And so that's the other reason he's been shown the door.
So enough was finally enough, because it never felt to me that he would ever sell. Never wanted to sell. This is the team he grew up loving. He got it for a song. Always was just going to stand firm, stand his ground. But was it the fact that he couldn't get a new deal in D.C. because nobody wanted to deal with him was truly the final straw?
Part of it.
Is that it?
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. That's a big part of it, the costing his fellow owners money. And remember, there was also the allegation that he had two separate sets of books where he was hiding money from them. But we did a story at ESPN last October. I did it with my colleagues Seth Wickersham and Tisha Thompson that revealed that Snyder actually was telling fellow owners that he had dug up dirt on owners and Commissioner Roger Goodell. That story landed in mid-October of last year. If you remember, Jim Irsay came out in an owners meeting just a week later and basically said, we have to begin to think here among the owners of showing Snyder the door. And then just a few weeks after our story landed, Snyder announced that he was going to investigate selling the team. I think any goodwill that he might have had left, certainly with Jerry Jones, went out the window when it was discovered that a partner, somebody who they were in partnership with, is actually running around saying, I've got dirt, and if you try to take my franchise away, I am going to blow you all up. That was, I think, also part of the final straw, which has led to today.
So how much does he walk away with, Don?
Well, he's selling for an American NFL, well, it's actually an American sports franchise record of $6.05 billion to Josh Harris and the Josh Harris Group, but he owes about $1 billion on that. It's kind of it's like a home equity loan.
Yeah,
He's been taking money out, and his former limited partner said he's been using the team as his personal piggy bank for years. So he owes $1 billion on top of it. But yes, he walks away with about $5 billion for being arguably the worst NFL owner in history.
I'll give you the floor on what
5 Powerball jackpots.
That's
right?
Yes, that's true. I'll give you the floor. And really, you would call Dan Snyder the worst NFL owner in the history of the league, Don? Really?
I think so, Rich. George Preston Marshall was the first owner of the Redskins. He's actually the man who coined the term Redskins. He was the last holdout to integrate his team in the early 60s. He was a big supporter of racial integration, racial separation, I should say. Mm-hmm. And he was forced to integrate his team in the early 60s by the Kennedy administration. So I would put George Preston Marshall in Snyder's league, but I think Snyder goes down as the worst. Remember, you made reference to it. When Snyder came in 1999, he was 34 years old, and this is a guy who rooted for the Redskins his entire life. It was his boyhood team, and he was seen among the owners and even Paul Tagliabue as the perfect person to own a team. And when he was introduced in 99, he said, I'm all about winning. And if you look at that standard, only one playoff win in 2005, a 42% winning percentage. He failed miserably at what he set out to do, and then all of the off-field stuff. I think it makes him the worst, even worse than George Preston Marshall. Rich.
Don Van Natta from ESPN, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Is it true again? And I think this was in the piece that you referred to with Seth Wickersham, that the reason Gruden and Snyder didn't get along is Snyder called Gruden fat? Is that literally what the genesis of the feud is about? Like that led to emails coming out and stuff like that? Or did Gruden call Snyder fat? Or is that what happened? Or is that what honestly, like a fat shame started this thing?
Snyder and Gruden met up at a restaurant after a Monday Night Football broadcast years ago. Uh-huh. And that's exactly right. Snyder called Gruden fat. Gruden responded, "I'll take your head and dribble it into the asphalt."
Okay.
And that's, I think, the last time they ever had a conversation together. Now, whether that's what motivated Snyder to green light, as we've had sources tell us, these racist and homophobic and misogynistic emails that Gruden wrote a decade ago to Bruce Allen, who was then the president of the team, I don't know. We had other sources say that Snyder did it to try to ingratiate himself with Roger Goodell, because Snyder last fall, or in the fall of 2022, I should say, was quite upset that he could not get back on the field and go back to owners' meetings. And he knew that there was bad blood between Gruden and Goodell, which we also lay out in that piece. And so, but, it backfired. It completely backfired because, as I say, just a week after these leaks to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, Congress opened a wide-ranging investigation of Snyder personally, of the Washington Commanders, as well as the NFL. And that caused Roger Goodell to have to testify before Congress. If you remember, Snyder was dodging subpoenas in the Mediterranean on a super yacht from Congress. And it just was this drumbeat of bad headlines and more embarrassment that went on and on and on involving the Commanders, which I believe contributed to leading us to today in the sale.
So I imagine Snyder selling doesn't mean Gruden's going to stop giving up his hunt to figure out where those emails came from and get his pound of flesh, right? So where does that stand right now, Don?
Right now, that's before the Nevada Supreme Court, Rich. So you're absolutely right. Gruden has sued the National Football League and Roger Goodell personally, accusing the league and Goodell of leaking those emails and costing him his career and his $100 million 10-year contract. He sued in the state of Nevada. Gruden won at the district court level and with the appellate court. The league is trying to put the proceedings before arbitration, before probably a very friendly league lawyer, and keeping it out of the public. Discovery will be behind closed doors. But so far, Gruden has won. He's 2 for 2, and the NFL has appealed before the Nevada Supreme Court, and we will have a decision later this year. If Gruden wins, it's very bad news for the NFL because we will have discovery. We'll have the proceedings in open court. Goodell and others will be subpoenaed. And there's a chance that those 650,000 emails that were amassed in the Beth Wilkinson investigation, that the handful of Gruden emails were cherry-picked from, could also become public. And Bruce Allen has told people there's bad news in those emails for everybody in the league. So that is something the NFL is fighting very, very hard to try to stop.
Wow. So are you saying, based on all of this, Don Van Natta of ESPN, that if after that Monday Night Football game years ago, Dan Snyder walked up to Jon Gruden and say, "Hey, man, you must be working out, eating right. I mean, you look great." Like, he would still be the owner of the Washington Commanders? Is that what you're saying right now, Don?
I'm not saying that, Rich.
Okay.
There's too many other elements here, but that was certainly a spark of something. There was no doubt that was a spark of some very bad blood that continues to this day between Jon Gruden and Dan Snyder.
Yeah, I mean, you must be working out. Get up. What do you get up 5 a.m? You're running. I mean, oh my gosh. So what do you know about the first order of business for Josh Harris, other than I'm not Dan Snyder, and that will increase the value of his franchise? Like, seriously, like what is on the to-do list when Josh Harris takes the reins tonight?
All he has to do is the opposite of everything. Dan
Like Costanza? Like full Costanza? Is that what you're saying? Go full Costanza? Do the opposite? That's it?
Full Costanza. That's right. Do the opposite. And, this is going to be the longest honeymoon we will see in Washington history that Josh Harris is going to get. He's going to get plenty of runway to turn around the team. So, a long-time Commanders fan was telling me this morning, he said, can you imagine what will happen if the Commanders win the Super Bowl? They're not going to win it this year, but next year or the year after. How will that make Snyder feel? And, we keep talking and laughing about the fact that Snyder's going to walk away with $5 billion, this incredible payday, but this kills him. His entire identity was being the owner of the team he loved since he was a boy. And people in his inner circle say he is just destroyed that he has to walk away from the team. And the cherry on top of this for, I think, the Washington fan base is if Harris is able to turn things around relatively quickly and get to a Super Bowl and maybe even win it in the next few years, how that's going to make Dan Snyder feel.
Do you think it's possible they even change the name? Just to get rid of, just remove all trails and traces of Dan Snyder. Do you think that's possible?
I think so. Yes, I think there's a pretty good chance of that, to erase any part of the Snyder legacy, to have a complete do-over. I would not be surprised at all, Rich, if we see a name change and a complete rebranding soon.
Don, thanks for the time, brother. Greatly appreciate it. You're the man.
Appreciate it, Rich. Anytime.
You got it. That's Don. You bet. That's Don Van Natta at DVNJR on Twitter. Must follow Don Van Natta of ESPN. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.